For so much of my life, I felt like I really struggled to motivate myself and really thought that I was just a lazy person. So much so that over the holidays, I went back home and found this little questionnaire book that I had filled out in sometime in grade school. And one of the questions was, what are you not good at? And my answer was motivating myself. I even went as far as to see that at some point and go back and write, LOL, yep. So clearly, I felt very strongly about that, which I find so ironic now because I would not describe myself that way at all. I would go as far as to say that's actually one of my greatest strengths now. So today I want to share with you my genuine reflections on what I believe has really helped me become such a consistent, motivated, disciplined person, if you will, even though that's not quite the verbiage I would use. And it just so happens that what I know has worked really well for me is actually what the science around motivation and behavior says as well. So let's talk about it. Hi, and welcome to the next video of the Becoming 2.0 You series. This is a 12-week series dedicated to helping you learn the tools and the skills and the mindset shifts that will help you change your habits and show up for yourself in the ways that you want to. So if that is something you are interested in, make sure to hit subscribe and stick around. I think there are a lot of ways that we can really start to rethink motivation and to view it through a different lens than we probably have for a majority of our lives. I think for a lot of us, when we think about motivation, we tend to think about it as this willingness to do something or this desire or excitement that feels like it's just there. But when those feelings aren't there, we feel like, well, I'm not motivated. I don't feel like doing it, which can then start to spiral into feeling like we're just not a disciplined person or that we're just inherently lazy. So I don't think viewing motivation in that way is super helpful because, yeah, it is 10 times easier to get ourselves to do something when we do have that natural desire. But that natural desire is not always going to just be there. And that's where the internet will tell you, okay, well, don't rely on motivation. You need to really put your focus towards being disciplined. But in my experience and my reflections of how I went from someone who felt like I really struggled with being consistent and getting myself to do things and really leaned into instant gratification to feeling like I really did a 180 from that, as well as my experience in working with others, I really found that what seems to make the biggest difference is really learning how to and being able to motivate yourself, being able to create motivation. So instead of seeing motivation as this feeling of a desire or excitement, or as something you either have or don't have, really, you want to see motivation just as something that moves you toward taking action and seeing it as something that you can create for yourself. I truly believe that such a big life hack is really learning how you work and knowing what your motivators are and what moves you into action. Because when you get to a point where you can motivate yourself way more often than not through really understanding your motivators and what those things are and what kind of self-talk that involves, then that is such a beneficial spot to be. From there, you can create motivation for yourself rather than seeing it as something that you sometimes have or something that you sometimes feel. And something I feel like it's just really helpful to understand is when we don't feel motivated, we're in that place of, I don't feel like doing it or I feel unmotivated. Usually what's happening, and of course other factors play into this, but usually what's really happening is a part of our brain is focused on the reasons that we have to not do the thing. And that's not always something that we're super consciously aware of that we're doing or thinking about. Usually it's just noticing that we don't feel like doing it and then likely proceeding to not do it. But somewhere in the back of our minds, we are thinking about what we maybe feel like we'd rather be doing, or on an inner narrative around why we don't want to do that particular thing. You may not feel like cooking dinner because your mind is focused on how good it sounds to just lounge on the couch and how cooking sounds like so much effort. Maybe you don't want to go for a walk because your mind is currently focused on how you feel like you do not have time for that with all the things that you need to get done today. You might not feel like going to work out because your brain is imagining all of the energy and effort that that's going to take. So what creating your own motivation really is noticing when you're in those moments of not feeling like doing it or not feeling motivated, and then finding compelling reasons for yourself to do the thing. It's shifting your focus to anything that has enough meaning or influence for you that it will get you to do the thing. And this is a skill that you can cultivate and something that you get better at every time you practice it. So for example, if you don't feel like going for a walk because it's cold outside or because you don't feel like you have enough time, you can switch your brain's focus to reasons why you would want to go on the walk. Maybe that's something like, I always feel more energized when I go for a walk. Or it'll be really nice to give my brain a break. Or actually, I'm really excited to listen to this new podcast episode and I can listen to that while I go on my walk. So really, this is all about noticing the resistance, noticing when you're in those moments of not feeling like doing it, and then redirecting your focus to any reason that would help get you to do the thing, and then taking action from there. It's really just the shift in focus from why you don't want to do it to why you do want to do it. And the why you would want to do it could look so many different ways. But a key part of this is really getting to know and understand what your motivators are, because what I might use to motivate me might not mean anything to you. For example, I know for me that I know I can get myself to cook a majority of my meals at home instead of going out to eat because of all of the money that saves me. I know for me, money is something that I can lean on to serve as a motivator. I know I can get myself to clean and tidy up my house because I know that I want to have higher standards for myself. That for some reason, there's something deep enough within me that matters enough to, that helps drive me into action. Other times that can look like motivating myself through knowing I can listen to music I really love, or I'll get to watch the next episode of a show that I'm addicted to while I clean my house. When I was initially getting into working out, I knew I could get myself to go to the gym by framing it in a way of, this is a place I can go and get lost in my own little world. It's a place I can just shut out all the noise, which looks a little different now. Now I get myself to go to the gym or can motivate myself in those moments of not feeling like it by thinking about that's just someone I want to be. I want to be someone who keeps up with an active lifestyle, and I want to be someone who stays fit. Or as another example, I can get myself to go to the grocery store simply by thinking about how convenient it will make the rest of my week. It will make my week easier if I just go right now. But those are all things that work for me. And you might have heard all of those examples and go, okay, well, those things would mean nothing to me, right? We're all a little bit different. So what motivates one person is not going to be what motivates another. And that's where you get to start to explore what those things are for you. One way you can start to get to know what those things are for you is to really start to just pay attention and think about, or even reflect on, okay, when I do get myself to do certain things, how do I do that? What am I thinking about? Are there certain things that I do or tell myself or start thinking about that gets me to do that thing? You can reflect on what feels like it really matters to you or what tends to have a bit of an influence on you. And just to get your mind thinking in that realm, here are a list of things that are more broad and general in terms of what I tend to see be motivators for people that you can use to just help you get thinking in that realm. Really, the two biggest things tend to be any reason you would want to do the thing. So again, usually when we're feeling unmotivated to do something, somewhere our brain is focused on why we don't want to do it or what we'd rather be doing. And the key here is to start to shift your brain to why you do want to do it. And the answer to that can be a million things, but you want to shift your focus to whatever that is. Another main thing here is really thinking about what could make this more enjoyable. What would make this more enticing? Like listening to music while you do your chores. But some other examples are the type of person you want to be or become, the kind of standards you want to have for yourself, doing something because it's a way you can show yourself love and respect, doing something because you want to build trust in yourself. There are financial motivators, your appearance, feeling better physically, knowing that something is going to make your life easier or more convenient, viewing something as a way of leveling up if that's something that matters to you, doing something for future you, just because you know future you will thank current you, or even something like, this is what successful people say that they do. And these are really just general. It can get so much more nuanced than this, and it really will be so much more specific for you. And you get to just experiment and find what those things are for you. For example, maybe you notice that watching videos of people working out on social media motivates you to want to go to the gym. Maybe simply telling yourself, I'm just going to do it, and shutting out any kind of thoughts of why you don't feel like doing it works really well for you. Maybe you find that if you're feeling just a general lack of motivation, changing your scenery and just going to a different area of town or going to a new restaurant helps you feel completely differently. Ultimately, you probably actually do know what a lot of your motivators are, you just haven't paid that much attention to them. So they'll become so much more obvious just with more awareness. But truly find the reasons that you enjoy something. Find the reasons that you want to do something, why you value something, and lean so hard into those things. And anytime you feel like you don't feel like doing it or unmotivated or whatever, just shift your focus back to those things. And you really don't need to judge yourself for not feeling like doing something or for realizing that you are focusing on why you don't feel like doing it. Our brains are wired for comfort and familiarity and for paying attention to the negative. Your brain is just doing what it's wired for. And really what this is just taking a more conscious approach rather than living based on whatever our automatic thoughts are. And know that being able to motivate yourself does not mean or equal that you're always going to have the desire to do it or that you're always going to feel like doing it. And that's okay. It is really great when we are able to simply shift our focus and suddenly we do feel that genuine desire or wanting to do something, but that's not always going to be the case. And know that you are fully capable of doing something even when you do not feel like doing it. And in this conversation and in talking about motivation, this is really not viewing things from a place of, well, I have to force myself and push myself and get myself to do things no matter what. That is just not something I believe in at all personally. What I do believe is, one, we should do something from a genuine place of desire as often as we can. Even if that genuine place of desire is simply, well, I'm going to go to the grocery store now because I know it will make my life more convenient later. Or I'll know I'll regret it if I don't go today. And two, I really believe that it is so important that we pay attention to our bodies and our needs as well. We don't want to bypass that. But to wrap this video up, I have 3 very practical and tangible steps that you can do. Now you can do one of them, you can do all 3, do whatever you want, as long as you do one of them. The first is to go into your notes app or anything like that and create a note that is dedicated to where you can list out anything that you notice helps drive you into action or that seems to help motivate you. This could be a certain mindset or something that you specifically tell yourself. It could be a compromise you make with yourself or a value of yours, something that you focus on or a way that you find makes it more enjoyable. But anytime you notice, oh, that worked, that got me to do the thing, or that helped make me feel more motivated, write that down on the list. This will serve as something that you can reference to remind yourself of what tends to help you specifically, but it also just gets your brain thinking in these ways and paying attention to these things in ways that really helps you just get to know yourself better. Number 2, you can think about the things that you tend to be able to get yourself to do pretty consistently and think about what helps you in those specific contexts. And number 3 is thinking about what is one small thing that I can experiment with this week? What is a specific action that I'm trying to get myself to do more consistently? And then starting to experiment with what kinds of things that you do or think about or what you shift your focus on and just paying attention to what actually helps get you to do that thing. Now, is this the end all be all of getting yourself to change your habits and behaviors? No. There are so many different factors that play into what we do, which is why this is an entire 12-week series rather than just a video on motivation. But truly, in really reflecting on what helped me go from how I was before and feeling like I was someone who just could not motivate myself, who felt like I couldn't be consistent with things, to feeling like I'm the opposite of that now. When I thought about what that difference was, it really was this specific thing. It was cultivating the skill of being able to simply shift my focus to, well, actually, why do I want to do it? Or what can I do that makes me feel more enticed to do it? Truly, our mind is so powerful, and simply just changing the lens that we're looking at something through can have just such an influence on our decisions and our behaviors. Sometimes we just need to think about something a little bit differently. So if you found this way of viewing motivation helpful or valuable in any kind of way, make sure to leave a comment or like the video just so I know that it resonated or helped you in some way. And if you want to follow along with this series to learn the skills and the tools and the mindset shifts outside of the ones I provided in this video to help you be more consistent with the habits that you want, make sure to hit subscribe. Thank you so much for being here. Be kind to yourself, have a wonderful day, and I will see you in another video. Bye.